The first principle and primary reality is immovable, both essentially and accidentally, but it excites the primary form of motion, which is one and eternal. Now, since that which is moved must be moved by something, and the prime mover must be essentially immovable, and eternal motion must be excited by something eternal, and one motion by some one thing, and since we can see that besides the simple spatial motion of the universe, which we hold to be excited by the primary immovable substance, there are other spatial motions, those of the planets, which are eternal, then each of these spatial motions must be excited by a substance which is essentially immovable and eternal. For the nature of the heavenly bodies is eternal, being a kind of substance, and that which moves is eternal and prior to the moved, and that which is prior to a substance must be a substance. It is therefore clear that there must be an equal number of substances, in nature eternal, essentially immovable, and without magnitude, for the reason already stated. Eudoxus held that the motion of the sun and the moon involves in either case three spheres, of which the outermost is that of the fixed stars, the second revolves in the circle which bisects the zodiac, and the third revolves in a circle which is inclined across the breadth of the zodiac, but the circle in which the moon moves is inclined at a greater angle than that in which the sun moves. And he held that the motion of the planets involved in each case four spheres, and that of these the first and the second are the same as before, for the sphere of the fixed stars is that which carries round all the other spheres, and the sphere next in order, which has its motion in the circle which bisects the zodiac, is common to all the planets. The third sphere of all the planets has its poles in the cycle which bisects the zodiac, and the fourth sphere moves in the circle inclined to the equator of the third. In the case of the third sphere, while the other planets have their own peculiar poles, those of Venus and Mercury are the same. Callippus assumed the same arrangement of the spheres as did Eudoxus, that is, with respect to the order of their intervals, but as regards their number he assigned to Jupiter and Saturn the same number of spheres as Eudoxus, but he considered that two further spheres should be added for both the sun and the moon, if phenomena are to be accounted for, and one for each of the other planets. But if all the spheres in combination are to account for the phenomena, there must be for each of the other planets other spheres, one less number than those already mentioned, which counteract these and restore to the same position the first sphere of the star in which each case is next in order below. In this way only can the combination of forces produce the motion of the planets. Therefore, since the forces by which the planets themselves are moved are 8 for Jupiter and Saturn and 25 for the others, and since of these the only ones which do not need to be counteracted are those by which the lowest planet is moved, the counteracting spheres of the first two planets will be 6, and those of the remaining 4 will be 16, and the total number of spheres, both those which move the planets and those which counteract these, will be 55. If we do not invest the moon and the sun with the additional motions which we have mentioned, there will be 47 spheres in all. This, then, may be taken to be the number of the spheres, and it is reasonable to suppose that there are as many immovable substances and principles. The statement of logical necessity may be left to more competent thinkers.